Hi everyone, I just wanted to do sort of a review of the Cranfield Caligo Safe Wash ink. This is a really wonderful ink that I believe comes from the United Kingdom, and it's oil-based, but it's also water soluble. So this is my new go-to printmaking ink for relief, and essentially I'm just going to squeeze out a nice sized bead of ink that matches the width of my roller. And then I'm going to go ahead and start charging my brayer and go ahead and start printing from there. But I'm really happy with this printing ink, and I wanted to show some of the materials that I use for my fine art printing practice because I feel like there's often a lot of mystery. So with this, I'm just charging up my brayer, and you can see it goes on really smooth, really luxurious, and it has like this beautiful rich color, and you can tell it's not going to dry out anytime soon. So I like it for a lot of reasons. I might have overcharged my brayer just a bit, but I typically do this for the first impression because my linoleum block is very thirsty for some ink. So my first roll up will kind of be a little bit thicker, and then from there I'll kind of watch it and gauge it and see what makes the most sense. But you can see it's charging up really well, and it prints even better. So that's wonderful. I know there's a lot of different printmaking inks out there, but like I said, this one is my go-to because it's fairly inexpensive. It still has a very nice rich look like many of the traditional relief printing inks, and it's also water soluble. And then for my paper, since I'm printing at home, I like to use the Strathmore printmaking paper lightweight. That one works really great for me, but I know there's many different options out there as well, and you have to decide what's going to work best for your home studio practice. So I don't have a ton of room where I can be tearing paper and things like that, so this works good for me for now. And I like to work right on this Quilter's self-healing mat because it has all these nice little grids, so that way I can try to line up my paper as best as I can. And right now I'm just kissing the paper down to my actual print that's wet, and then using my good old trusty Baron to apply some circular firm pressure all throughout the print itself. And we'll go ahead and have a look at how this Cranfield Caligo Safe Wash Relief ink is holding up. I find that since it is an oil-based water-soluble ink, that it does hold up really well. So every time I print, it's pretty much the same image over and over. I've never had any issues with this particular ink drying out, even on like a hot summer day, whereas I have had that issue with some of the other printmaking inks that I've used, which I plan to do some different kind of reviews of those as well. So I haven't added any more ink to my surface, and it's still holding up really great. The ink's not drying. It's a cold winter day here in Michigan, and I feel like it's really getting the job done. I plan on doing an edition of, I think, 10 to 12. That way I have a little bit of wiggle room to play, and I'll have a final edition of probably 8, if I'm going to be honest, because I do plan on doing some, I guess, flocking or embossment on it, and I'll kind of showcase that as that procedure keeps going. But yeah, printing is super easy. The ink holds up amazing, and it's really great to be able to do printmaking in such a small space. I'm just working on a desk that I have in my studio, and I feel like it's just really great for any space available. So if you just have a tabletop, if you have a actual studio, you can pretty much set this up wherever you are, and that's the beauty of relief printmaking. I know I'm sometimes nostalgic of my times in the printmaking studio, staying up all night and making artwork, but this is more realistic in my current life and way of living, and not having to inhale toxic fumes and things like that. This ink does have a little bit of a smell to it, but it's nothing like the old traditional print shop. So just keep that in mind. Maybe you might want a fan, but I believe like the toxicity rating is very low. So it's just a really wonderful ink to have. And I actually have, I think, the primary colors and then a couple ink amenders, which they sell as well. And yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. And I think I'm going to go ahead and keep printing, and I'll be showing you the cleanup process, which is literally the easiest printmaking cleanup I've ever experienced. And if anybody else out there is a printmaker, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And cleanup is literally a breeze with this. I typically use a putty knife or a razor blade, a flat one, and just kind of go ahead and scoop up any of my excess ink with that. And I could even roll up again and maybe try to print another piece, but it seemed like it was getting a little bit low, so this seems to work fine for me. So just getting up as much as possible and then using something like an all-purpose cleaner. It says just water, but I'm using, I think, some kind of store-bought cleaner, and I would advise wearing gloves, especially just because you don't want to have blue hands all day or red hands, and yeah, it just makes it easier. And then I'm just using paper towel, but typically I would try to find some rags if I had those laying around, or some old cut up sheets or towels or things like that. And I always have like an old newspaper or something like that on hand, and that way I can use it for cleaning. So I'm just spraying the sheets of newspaper and then rolling my brayer in there, and then you can see it's like gradually starting to lift the ink. And I think cleaning the brayer is typically my least favorite part about being a printmaker, but especially the big ones from the old studios. But this one's nice and tiny and water soluble, makes it a literal breeze. So super thankful for that. And that's pretty much it as far as cleaning the brayer and then the inking surface. And then cleaning the block is really simple as well. So for cleaning the block, I just set it down on my newsprint stack and then go ahead and start spraying it with my multi-purpose cleaner. And from there, just using a paper towel or a rag and wiping up as much of the color as I can. And you'll have to excuse the shaking because my mount is directly on the working station. So yeah, it just takes a little bit of time and patience, and sometimes it seems like it'll never go away, but I promise you it's not too difficult. If you wanted to, you could always put this under a sink once you got most of the ink, but I would kind of advise against that just so it doesn't go into our water systems and things like that. So try to get as much as you can just by using the paper and rags and towels, and that should be sufficient enough. And I'm really happy with how this print turned out. You'll see it here in a second, and this is before I did the flocking and embossment. So here is my print, the Namaste Print from December 2020. Thank you for staying tuned and watching me print my Namaste print. If you want to learn more about relief printmaking and some other fine art classes, you can also find me on Skillshare, which I'll link to below, and also some of my socials. So thank you all so much and have a good day.